to the first video podcast ever. Cheers to you,
Yes.
my man. This
Cheers.
is just some nondescript ginger lime beverage.
Yeah, this is all white beverage, so pretty good.
Nice.
Pretty good. All
Nice.
right. Well,
It's
hey,
good to see you, man.
yeah, I know it's good to
I've
see
been
you.
yearning for like
I know.
human connection.
That's what I told my wife. I was like, I mean, I said it the other day. I said I'm ready to go. She heard me over. I was talking to somebody at work, and I said, I'm just ready to go back to work. And when I got off, she goes, "Oh, ready to go back to work, huh?" I said, "Well, I'm ready to go back to work because we need to get back to work, not because I
Yeah.
don't, I want to get away from you, but I need to get back to work, get back to some kind of normalcy." So, you know,
Yeah,
and it
definitely. And
sucks
I've
that we're not
cherished
going to
this
see each
time
other.
too with my wife.
Huh? What's that?
Like I've cherished this time too with my wife. Like it's been really nice to
Yeah.
be around each other all day, every day. And fortunately, like we never really get tired of each other. It's good to connect, to be with family. It's good to have the kids around. I do enjoy that because striking a work life balance can be really, really challenging. So as much as dude, I'll be the first one to crack a joke about like I'm in the garage right now, so my wife doesn't have to hear me for 8, 10 hours a day. We do really enjoy the time together, and it has been. We found the positives in the situation, I think, which have been really important for us.
Yeah, it's been good for us. I mean, I've gotten a lot of stuff done. I mean, we were just talking about it in the office. I mean, I've gotten, a lot of that stuff done, but I've also got a lot of stuff done on the computer that we needed to do at
Hmm.
work. I mean,
Plus honeydew lists for
that's
your home
it.
life.
Every time you turn around, I think I've spent more money since this has been going on, which is usually isn't the way it works. I thought you usually spend more money when you're out working and she's at home while you're gone, and but it's different. I mean, we spent more money now since I've been at home. I told her I need to go back to work so we can stop all that.
Pay everything off. Dude, I'm in the same boat that like retail therapy is a real thing.
It
And
is.
here's my justification. I don't know necessarily that I've spent more money than when I work. So like when I'm working, there's lunches, there's travel, there's a lot of other things. And gas is huge being in Southern California, commuting, sitting on the freeway, having to drive, everywhere, and especially, when you're out in the field too. But
Right.
think about all the money that you're saving, not having to drive around, not having to do a bunch of business lunches and travel and things like that. I think honestly, the spending is the same. We've just shifted it from one category into one
Yeah.
that, in my opinion, is way more fun, which is like just buying shit for ourselves now.
Yeah,
So,
and I needed to, and I've been putting it off. So sitting here and being in front of the computer, so I'll have my work
yeah.
computer, mostly my laptop that I use, and of course I have work stuff, and then I have Amazon. And as I'm going through Amazon, I'm steady putting stuff in the cart, and then as I'm doing that, it's just everything's it's the cards the amount of money keeps racking up. But hey, it's you got to have it. I mean, especially when it comes to the gear. So
Definitely. And I think another thing I'll do is because I'm one of those that I will 100% run rampant if left unchecked, and
yeah,
before you know it, it's like, what are all these boxes doing here? You have a serious problem. Like I don't have a problem gambling, I don't have a problem with drugs or anything else, but maybe Amazon might be the thing. So I've gotten to where I'll build a cart out and then I'll sit on it for as long as I can and really think like, do I absolutely need this shit, or am I just kind of getting that retail therapy high for the moment? And then I'll revisit it, and maybe a couple things will fall off, but I'll typically click, yeah, order. Let's bring it, and then I'll hate myself because now I've got to wait an extra 2 days for all my stuff to arrive. So,
I'll wait. I will research stuff before I buy it. If it's even
oh
if
yeah,
it's like the 1DX Mark III, I will research that bitch for like 6 months. If I
right.
even if I had the money, the expendable money to spend on it, I would sit there and research it and why do I need it? Where am I going to use it? Why should I have it compared to this camera? And that goes with anything. That goes with lighting that I have here. That goes with C stands. Whatever I purchase, I sit there and research the shit out of it. And then long after that, and long after my wife keeps hearing me talk about it all the time, she goes, "Why don't you just buy it?" like, all right. So it's like almost like I need
You're
like
like, green light, let's
yeah,
go.
so, all right. And I go, purchase. And then next thing you know, here come all the boxes. Like it's like day after day after day after day. And she's like, what the hell have you been ordering? Like, it's just stuff I need, man. So
You said order it.
yeah, it's you need it. I mean, you gotta
But
have
then the problem is sometimes you do so much research though. Now by the time you're ready to commit and you're like, I've vetted this thing out completely. It's exactly what I want. It's what I need for my use case, et cetera. And then I got the wife's okay. So I'm like, yeah, double awesome. And then you order it, and a month later they announce the new model, and you're like, shit.
yeah,
There's like
you've researched
at
it
some point
way
you
too
have to
long at
commit
that point.
because yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But then it always feels like the next best thing is right around the corner. So it's either buy everything and
Yeah.
spend a ridiculous amount of money, or eventually find a point where you're comfortable jumping off and making the commitment and saying, all right, I'm going to buy this thing. It's time to stick with this. And then you try and run it till the wheels fall off. And for the most part, I mean, we had this conversation last time around cameras and this and that. Like, you can still get some really amazing used equipment. You can get some stuff that will serve you just fine in most things that you need to do. Most of the excitement comes from the new bells and whistles, like, oh my god, it does 6K, oh my god, it does 8K, like all these different things. Oh, it's got multiple card slots, etc. Enter whatever piece of equipment you're talking about there. But eventually you find the threshold where you're ready to jump and commit to something, because you need to get it in your hands. You need to That's the only way you're going to get better at anything, is if you actually can touch it and use it.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, you can when it comes to cameras, you can divide everything up, whether it's the EOS R, the Mark IV, you know, even if you want to go back to the Mark III or you go to the EOS RP, any of those cameras, it's what does this one do compared to this one? What does this one do compared to that one? You gotta go so many different ways to look at them. And when it really comes down to it, it's what do you really need it for? What are you going to use? Are you just using it for photography? Then you don't need all the other stuff. So you could probably save about $1,500 on most cameras when you're looking at that. And then,
But it's not the cool new thing,
oh,
Jason.
it's not. No, hey,
It's got to be
it shoots
cool. You
6K.
got to you got to be brag worthy.
Yeah, it shoots 6K. Do you shoot video? Well, no,
Yeah.
but I mean, it shoots 6K, and just in
It
case I ever
shoots
want to.
shoots
So,
6K. Yeah, exactly.
you
That's
know,
a good time to bring up workflow. We were going to talk a little bit
yeah,
about workflow, because I think that dictates a lot of those choices. Honestly, when you look at it, if you have a camera that can do 4K, 5K, 6K, 8K with a lot of these new cameras that are coming out, is that really what you're going to shoot on the daily? Is that the workflow that you want to commit to? And that's a big piece to think about when you're looking at a piece of equipment that's right for you. Because even now, like we talked about the Red platform, and how our 6K Reds are a lot more popular for our like frequent use than the 8K Reds, because we're not trying to shoot everything at 8K and have to spend, thousands of dollars on storage and media and hard drives and all this stuff. It's much easier to shoot 6K, and that's kind of a Red thing too. Like when you stop down your resolution, you're actually cropping the sensor, which I'm not a fan of at all. So I don't know if that's a potential firmware thing in the future. It was with the Dragon X when it went from 5K to 6K. We bought it when it was a 5K camera, and now with firmware update, boom, you can use the whole sensor, which is amazing. But workflow is a big piece of it. So are you really shooting 4K and operating in those circumstances all the time, or like what are you finishing? And is this just for Facebook or for Instagram? Does it really, like,
yeah.
they're not showing 4K, 8K videos on Facebook, like on the daily, like all the time.
Not even on YouTube. You can find some that are shot at. I mean, that
Yeah.
they say 4K, but I would bet 95%, if not higher than that, shoot they're all in 1080p. But it
Yeah.
goes to what you were saying about the workflow. So, okay, so you have a camera that shoots 6K or 8K. Now you have to spend the money on something that will help you edit that, because if you edit it on a even I mean my laptop wouldn't do it, but and I have a MacBook Pro and it's only a couple years old. So, but if
Is
you
that the i7 or the i9?
the i7. So,
Yep, I've got an i7 personally, and then at work I've got an i9, and then we do all the heavy lifting on like burly iMac Pros.
yeah,
So
and
I
you
wouldn't
have to.
touch I wouldn't touch my current laptop with red footage, just because. I mean, if you're editing hardcore in proxy,
Oh, you
and
throw
you're
it out the window. I mean, it
exactly.
would take so long with the lagging and everything. It would infuriate me. I mean, it infuriates me
Yeah.
to try to do 4K. That's why I shoot so much in 1080 because I'm like,
Mhm.
I do not want to get home and mess with this stuff because that is my next investment. Um, my wife has talked sternly to me and wants to know if I really need it. And that's why I said, "Look, man, you know what?
Like the cheese grater, the new crazy ones,
Uh, I don't know. I don't know. See, and that's one
like
of
the
the things I want to get
fifty,
into. I want
sixty
to talk about.
thousand dollar
Well,
computer.
no, not that. But I mean, hell, you could. The iMac Pro is base is what 6,000, 6,900 or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, but when you start putting in the stuff that you want, now you're getting up around the 10,000.
Now it's 15 grand.
Yeah. So that, I mean, I guess so. That's the question. So if you're going to shoot with today's cameras and say you want to go, you're going away from the DSLR, the mirrorless camera to shoot, and you do go to the cinema cameras, the Canons or the red cameras. I mean, what way do you go? I mean, how? I mean, what's the best? I know there's not really a best workflow you could probably come up with, but what would be the minimum workflow that you would need to operate with something like that?
Well, I mean, a lot of that depends on what your editing program of choice is. Like, are you into the Adobe, Creative Cloud suite? In which case, Premiere has direct support for R3D files that you get out of a Red. Even now, the big announcement somewhat recently was DaVinci. DaVinci Resolve now supports R3D files, which is huge because people are now clamoring to DaVinci Resolve as a new post-production workflow solution because it doesn't crash as often as Premiere does.
Have you
Like,
used
I'm a
it?
love it and hate it Premiere guy for sure,
Yeah.
but
Not to get off
I'm
subject real quick.
interested.
Do you use DaVinci or have you used it?
So I have messed around with it a bit, we'll say.
Yeah.
It's a big point for me moving forward. Probably over the next 6 to 9 months, we're going to be doing a lot of heavy workflow testing in DaVinci just to compare it to the Adobe Creative Suite. And then before that, a handful of years ago, it was Final Cut 10.
Yeah.
But Premiere is kind of, it's where I've landed. It's where I'm most comfortable nowadays. But you can't argue with the pure, amazing, color grading prowess of DaVinci Resolve.
Yeah.
You can do a lot with Premiere. Don't get me wrong. Like this argument, the argument between all the different nonlinear editors or NLEs is, what are you comfortable with? What are you familiar with? What are you confident in, right? They all do very, very similar things. And we could get into the minutia of, well, DaVinci Resolve's color grading versus Lumetri Color in Premiere Pro. Whatever, man. It's not an argument that we need to have because it's all about what's right for you. So Adobe is interesting in that it's a subscription-based service now, and it used to be just you buy the program and you own it. Compared to Final Cut and DaVinci Resolve, you can get different levels of DaVinci Resolve. You can get the free version and edit in that and color grade in that. So it all depends on kind of what your investment threshold is for that. But for us, I'll kind of walk you through a typical workflow for shooting a video. Like, everything is typically going into camera. So we use the media in the cameras, be it a red mag and a red, or CFast or CF cards or SD cards or whatever that is. We go to media in the camera. From there, we immediately back it up because too many things have happened poorly where
Uh,
some shit accidentally got formatted and we're like, oh no. So fortunately nothing huge has happened, but it has happened. It does happen. So immediately we'll back that up to something like a G-Tech 20 terabyte little G-RAID drive. And those are fantastic. In fact, you asked me about hard drives and I was going to
yeah.
make since we're in video, I've got to show
Okay.
stuff too. I've got a couple
Is that
recommendations.
a Samsung?
So typically, yes, it is Samsung
That's,
T5 drive. These things are worth their weight in
yeah.
gold every single time. These
I
are
don't have one,
amazing.
but I'm
I,
threatening to buy
dude.
like 5 of them because I hear so much good stuff about them.
So you have to. Unfortunately, right now, I'm waiting on an announcement, and maybe I'm misspeaking, but as of right now, you can get them in like 500 gig, a terabyte. We bought a bunch of 2 terabyte ones. I'm waiting for something bigger than that. But the speed is absolutely ridiculous when you are transferring files to and from. In fact, the the speeds on a T5 drive, and maybe quote me, maybe not, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. Uh, Last we checked, the speeds on a T5 drive are actually faster than the stock hard drives in a MacBook Pro. So it's actually quicker and more reliable for us to edit off of the T5 drive directly than move it over to your local machine and edit off of there. So that's my like soapbox about the Samsung T5 drives. They're amazing. I need them to be a lot bigger. I need like a 4, 6, 8, or 10 gig model, because with things like the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K camera, you can shoot directly to these hard drives. They're that fast. It's amazing. They're all solid state, fantastic. The other side note on hard drives are these Apricorn hard drives. These are amazing. This is just a 1 terabyte model, the Padlock 3. These you can get for, and by the way, the Samsung drive for a 2 terabyte, it's like 350, 370 on B&H or Amazon or any of those guys.
Yeah, and that's not
The Padlock one, no, it's not, man. Buy 2 or 3 of them. They're fantastic.
bad.
I'm not a
Yeah.
paid
What
endorser, but I do
I
endorse.
I definitely am going to buy those. I've that's
Yeah,
another.
they're great.
I've researched hard drives until I'm sick of it, because I mean, I have 3 sitting behind my computer right now, and I work on 2 of them. The other one's filled up, and second one's about filled up, and I think this one is too. But anyway, so I've been researching them, but I don't know, to be honest with you, RAID, or or which way is the best way to go with that? Because I mean,
Well,
I need something with a lot of space, obviously, but I
yep,
also want to have something that's reliable, fast, and I can just put out of the way. I don't want anything.
yep.
I don't want to build up a bunch of 2 terabyte or 4 terabyte small hard drives. Those are good for when you're going from place to place and you have to take something,
Yeah.
transfer it.
Yeah, that's your daily driver hard drives. I'm dumping my cards from today's shoot for this week long trip that I'm here, or the weekend trip that I'm over here. So the problem becomes price versus speed, and solid state is always going to be way crazy expensive as soon as you get into like higher archival sizes. So I mentioned the G-Tech 20 terabyte. That thing is amazing. It's about $1,000 and it's USB-C. It has multiple connectors, and the thing is just pretty much bulletproof. We've had zero issues with it whatsoever. Super reputable brand. Um, I've had issues in the past with Western Digital, with Lacey. Some of those have been hit or miss as far as their ability to get me what I really need and be totally reliable. When it comes to the solid state stuff, Samsung has got the market nailed. Yeah, there you go. So I've had questionable results. I mean, I've only had one hard drive ever outright fail on me, so that's good. But G-Tech, I would say that $1,000 is going to be an amazing investment for a 20 terabyte system that you can just dump a ton of files on there and then go, all right, we're good for now. I mean, when you get into RAID, that's about the time that people start talking about redundancy and redundant backups and making sure you have 2 or 3 copies of everything. And RAID's really, really great for that. We have a couple of, I want to say they're made by their Buffalo Terra stations. And those are like the swappable drives. It's basically an enclosure. You can run it off of, you can basically hardwire it and run it off of your private servers, stuff like that. So anybody connected to that can access those files. You can use it really easily as a shared drive, which is great. But for me, I mean, I'm a tried and true believer in some really amazing solid state hard drives. And then G-Tech's been the main thing that I rely on for kind of long-term storage or massive storage. For $1,000 for 20 terabytes, that's not the worst ever. My first hard drive I ever bought in college was like a 120 gig Lacey, and it was like $500. Like, it was so expensive for storage back in
Yeah, it come a long
03 to
way
oh
for sure.
06. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So for hard drives, you can't beat it. And then I only bring up the Padlock ones because occasionally we'll have to send physical media overseas, send them out to different contractors, or we're sending a hard drive with like a third party contractor and they're giving us the footage back. And this is a way to make sure even if the drive gets stolen, your shit's not going to be recovered. These are incredibly difficult to mess with. They've got fantastic encryption. And then I want to say it's similar to like an iPhone. If you punch the wrong code in too many times, you're screwed. This message will self-destruct.
That would suck.
No,
That would
so
be
those are
that
great.
that
That
would
would suck, absolutely.
well, that is what I am looking at is the G-Tech, but I just can't figure out. I don't know. I got it in my shopping cart, so
Hmm.
and I have it saved. I just got to pull the trigger on it. So uh,
Definitely.
just trying to figure out what to use. I mean, I'm getting tired of filling up the same. I mean, it's like
You're
hard.
nickel and diming yourselves with hard drives, and then you have a stack of them, and that's just more opportunities for them to fail, for you to lose them, for for anything to happen. The G-Tech, I would put my money in as a solid investment. It is a steep investment. It's $1,000, but you're getting
What
20
I got,
terabytes that you know you're going to be rock solid.
I have 10 terabytes on my desk right now, and it costs me some probably about $400, a little bit over $400, something like that, maybe more than that.
So that's not far off when you scale it.
Yeah. So yeah. So you add another 10 terabytes. I mean, mm, you know,
It's a hop, skip, and a jump to $1,000, baby.
yeah. I wish I had it like that. A lot of people think I do, but I
Yeah.
don't. I just play the role.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love talking about this. Like, I haven't
like we're
purchased
gonna
$1,000 hard drive.
I know.
Like, I'm the guy buying those like 1 and 2 terabyte off of Amazon, and occasionally like, please God, don't break. I just need you to work this one time, or I need to move some files around.
I've lost
But that is worth investing in.
I've lost a 2 terabyte drive. I've lost everything on it,
Mm.
and it had I don't know how many thousands of photos that I had on it. My wife was not happy. Nothing I could do about it. It just I plugged it in
Mm.
one day and it said it couldn't find my stuff. So I did like what any normal person would do. I unplugged it, waited for the minute and a half or whatever,
Hmm.
plugged it back in, said the same thing. So then I called somebody local and said, "Hey, can you fix it?" And they said, "Oh yeah, we'll fix it." So I took it to them to recover it, and then they called me about I don't know 3 4 days later and said they couldn't recover it. So, but they could send it
Shoot.
off, which was going to cost me. I can't
A
remember thousands of
ridiculous
dollars.
amount of money, man.
Yeah. I mean, was it worth it? Probably, but I can tell you in the 10 years that I haven't had it, I mean, I haven't missed the photos. I'd love to have them, but I
Yeah.
mean, I won't go any
I
further.
lost everything I worked on in college.
Yeah.
Literally everything. I had a 1 terabyte drive, and I was reminiscing. I don't know what I was doing. I was just going through it and looking at old stuff, and it tipped over. It tipped over, and the
And it was
rest
probably
is
pretty
history.
big. Was it a big hard drive?
Yeah, it was
Western Digital,
pretty.
you said? Or was it a
Uh, I'm trying to think. I think it was a Western Digital. Not to like shit all over them, but
no,
I think it
sure.
was.
Because if
It
you look at
happened
all
to
the
tip over. I accidentally knocked it over or something, and then, dude, the spinning drives with the needle, like actual damage, and now it's thousands of dollars for data recovery. That is such an incredibly meticulous operation to try and recover data from a messed up hard drive. It's crazy. And to me at the time, I was like, I mean, I spent six figures on college, and then all this stuff was on this drive.
yeah.
I'll remember it fondly. It'd
Well,
be
I mean,
great to
yeah,
have, but it's not make or break.
that's a good reason
It
to go
sucks.
solid state drive. Pay the
Yeah.
extra money so you don't have to in the long run. Because
Hmm.
eventually, that's why all these drives that I have are backed up. So like the first one that I had, this one that I showed you was the first one
Hmm.
I had after I damaged the other one, but it's been used up forever, but it's backed up onto the next one. And then those are backed up on the one after that. So I got to continue to go up in terabytes because I'm continuing to move everything over.
Oh, it's like you're consolidating debt and just moving it onto
That's
like
what
a
it
bigger
is. Yeah.
credit card.
Yeah.
You need a bigger and bigger credit card.
But I get scared. The older these get, I get scared that they're going to just one day just quit. And if it quits and I
Just wear
lose another
out.
one, my wife she'd be devastated. There's a lot of good photos and stuff on there. So
It sounds like you need the peace of mind that your data will stick with you as long as your marriage will. And
yeah,
for that peace of mind and security, invest in the G Tech 20 terabyte.
I need to. I mean,
There's your selling point right there.
I mean, I can. I should do it now, but I think I'm waiting for my office to get done. That's my excuse.
Yeah,
I want to find a
fair.
little nook for it. So, with that being said, how about so G-Tech is a way to go with that.
If
So,
you want large, reliable storage, I mean,
yeah.
I'd put my name on it, put my reputation on it. Yeah, I've had nothing but great success.
And do you guys edit straight Mac? That's it.
Yeah, so we do. Although we do have a machine that's coming in, it's more of like a live streaming production rack that's being built, and it's going to have a really, really gnarly custom computer built. But as far as I know, it's built off the Windows platform. So we'll see how that works. We'll see how that goes. It will have the ability and some like ridiculous video cards, ridiculous processing power. So just for shits and giggles, I may one night just pop open Premiere and see what it can do, or try and render out a gnarly After Effects composition just to kind of bench test it. So I will be interested in that, but for the most part, yeah, we're pretty much exclusive Apple. It just works. I mean, as much as we all want to gripe about it and some of the pains in the ass that it does, like, they're phenomenal machines. I think the biggest gripe I had was with the i9 laptops, and they were underclocking and blah blah blah. That
Yeah.
whole thing, like, you got to put it in the freezer to get it to work right, like,
See, and
to
that's
get the
why
advertised speeds.
that's what I'm trying to figure out my next investment, because if you look at the MacBook Pros, the new 16-inch MacBook Pros, um, they can be super fast,
Hmm.
and they have the memory, the
They
space,
also can
all that.
melt and light on fire.
Yeah, they can. But
Like, is mobility that important? That would be my
well, it
question for
and it
you.
is, but I see, but that's the thing. To if I get to go back to a desktop, I gave my desktop to my son, so he uses that for school. Or he uses it for anything. But so if I go back to a desktop, I can clean this out with stuff that I have on there now, dump it
Hmm.
onto whatever, back it up onto one of these older um, hard
One of the
drives.
mini credit card
Yeah,
drives.
go straight to the desktop for all my major stuff, but
Mm.
then I'll still have this MacBook Pro, which is fine. It's just ate up right now with everything I
Yeah.
got on it. But I can back off all the other stuff that I don't need. And then I can use that for portability, just to
Hmm.
download, to bring it from that hard drive to here. If I want to dump it onto there to do whatever it is. I'm always, anywhere I go, I'm always shooting photos. So I want to
Hmm.
edit. So I got to have something to take with me. So I don't necessarily edit video anywhere I go. I usually just dump it on the hard drive and I'm done. But photos, I'm always wanting to edit and then post. So that's basically what that'd be used for. But I'd have all the heavy lifting done by the desktop. So the
Hmm.
question is, how much do I want to spend on an iMac?
And how long before you feel like it feels like it's obsolete again?
Well,
Because I
yeah,
mean,
it's
even
all
six
about it.
thousand dollars on a computer, you hope that's going to last you. Like, what do you think the average lifespan of a workstation computer should be?
Well,
That's
for
a good question.
yeah, for what we do, oh, I can tell you. First of all, let's answer this. So, for what we do, you can kill a computer in less than 2 years. I know this one right here was done about a year ago, and it's been hobbling on one leg. Um, you pay $10,000 for a computer, you should get 5 or 6 years out of it easily. I don't know. Maybe a lot of people probably think you should have it forever, but that's not the way it works. Just because of business,
Yeah.
Apple would not be where they are if computers lasted a lifetime.
Yeah, true.
You
And
know,
I think a piece of that puzzle too is, as time goes on, different pieces of software rely on bigger and better processing power. Like, they're getting gnarlier to run. So I mean, that's why your phone feels slow after a few years. I mean, there are gnarlier things happening, much more labor intensive apps and pieces of software that your piece of equipment is not necessarily running slower, despite Apple's lawsuit about planned obsolescence and all that shit. But
uh,
that aside, computers feel slower because a lot of the things that we're doing is just more labor intensive over time, because a lot of those things are developed on the newest cutting edge processors and tons of RAM and great video cards and all of that. So it's not necessarily that your machine is slowing down, it's that things are becoming more labor intensive. So I'm with you. I think if you're spending 6 to 10 grand, and let's say if you can hobble along and you can do what you need to do with your laptop from a portability standpoint, it sounds like having like that at home workstation, something like an iMac Pro, or if you want to go crazy and pull a second mortgage, you can buy one of those cheese grater crazy Mac
I
Pros.
want to
But
just because the way it looks.
oh yeah, it's beautiful. Like the design aesthetic of their products is phenomenal. I mean, I really can't shit on much that they do. It's pretty cool. I don't agree with $1,000 monitor stand. I think I saw a meme of somebody using a coat hanger, which was pretty cool.
And see, and that's
But
the other thing. So you go and buy that. If you don't already have one, you have to buy a monitor, and you got to buy a
yeah,
good one. You don't just buy any monitor to edit with. And plus, if you're buying something like that, it's because you're doing some heavy editing.
hmm
I mean, I wouldn't think the average Joe just goes out and buys that just to have it for a home computer. I mean, they may, but um, I don't know. I don't know
if
what
you
they're.
don't have kids and you have the money, then yeah, you're definitely doing that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. I'm probably going to go with just the. I'm probably going to go with the regular iMac and just build it out because you can come in at about where the iMac Pro starts and it'll be just fine.
Yeah.
Only last 2 or 3 years, but it's the way it's going to have to be. But
Honestly, I think if you're spending 4 to 6 grand, you should be able to get, hopefully it's like a year for every 1,000 that you spend. I mean, and that may not be true necessarily once you get up to like the super crazy ones. Like, no, it's not going to last you 40 years, but
yeah,
at least and it depends on what you're doing, right? Like, are you pushing that processor and all the RAM every day, editing 4K, 8K video? Maybe
not
not. I mean,
that,
it's all
but
about the use case too,
yeah.
right? So you have that processing power, but are you ripping temperatures up in that thing just trying to render and export all the time? No, maybe not. So,
Yeah,
and definitely if it's something more for
when I render a video on my laptop, it sounds like it's about to take off.
it's a jet
It
engine, bro.
Yes, it just, I mean,
Yeah,
starts to rev up, and it's like, and I head into the other room. I'm like, if if it burns up, it burns up, whatever. But
yeah.
so yeah, I mean, but so obviously the programs have a lot to do with it. And if you look at, so I have, Lightroom, After Effects, which I really don't use a whole lot. I don't know why the hell I even got it on there. I dabble in it, but I suck at it. Photoshop, and then I have Audition, and then I have Premiere. I mean, I just have stuff lined up, but I use that stuff on a daily basis, you know.
hmm
So that stuff I have to have. And then I have other stuff like add-ons that I have from like, Red Giant and stuff like that that takes up
hmm
space. And it's just, that in itself takes up a lot of space on your computer. It takes a lot of stuff to use or to run those programs. And like you said, once you get into the 6K and 8K, if that's what you're going to be doing, there's no way in hell I can do it on a computer like this. So I don't know. I think I just talked
Yeah.
myself into buying a iMac Pro. So,
There you go.
yeah.
That might be the move. So to kind of circle back to what we were talking about earlier with workflow, like when we're recording, it doesn't matter what camera we're recording with. We're typically recording to the camera. We have an Atomos, like an old one. We don't even use it honestly. And there are some definite benefits when you look at various cameras. They can if you're recording with an external recorder, you can get some better bit rates or color spaces out of it. Cool. We haven't worried about that too much just because most of the time we're shooting on red or something like that. But that might be a consideration for someone who wants to save a bit of money on the camera, get an external recorder, and then maybe you can get your 4K out, or you can get your 422 color space or whatever that is that you're looking for. So recording into camera through media, then it's getting backed up, and then it's typically for my team, we're editing locally on our machines, just because sometimes we have to be mobile, we have to travel, we have to get it done, and then we've got a laptop for when we are mobile, and then for the most part iMac Pros, and those have been absolute beasts. We've been phasing out the trash cans, so to speak.
I was going to ask you that if you
Those have
use
been
those. I figured y'all did.
Yep. Yeah, we've used them for the last few years, honestly. And for the most part, they've done well. For me, in my experience, the first thing to go is the video card, which is really a bummer because that sucks. But I've had like 2 video cards go and 1 hard drive go. But for the most part, they've been, pretty solid. We're just phasing them out. It's time. It's been X amount of years, and it's the right time to do it, to move up. But the iMac Pros have been great when built out. I mean, we're probably working on stuff that's in the neighborhood of 10 to 15K a machine once they're all built out, and they've chugged along with red footage. It's been great. But
Maybe
that's
we
typically our
keep
workflow, and then it's just archival beyond that point. Once you get to your deliverable, you deliver it however you want to, and then boom, you're archiving it onto a server or onto like a really gnarly G-RAID drive.
well, maybe it would be cheaper if I had like a huge project. I just fly out there and edit it
Yeah, probably.
and then fly back.
Roll in.
Babe,
Yeah, done.
I got to run edit for 3 days. I'll be back.
Be back. We'll see. Yeah.
Fly out on a
Yeah, yeah.
Friday and come back on a Sunday. So
Done.
that's a shit ton of editing. I don't know if I've ever
Yes, it
that
is.
fast. So
It's a beast, man. And honestly, like the whole remote work thing has been, there are some cool, like very cool things about it. Like for a lot of creatives, you carry some weird hours, man. So it's like maybe you're a night owl, and most of your high brain activity, creativity is happening between 9 and midnight, and you weren't able to really do that before because the expectation was, hey, you got to be in generally during these set of hours. So it's cool to see how things change, how some things have gotten faster and other things have gotten slower due to working remote, when people have more flexibility to work when they're most comfortable. Like they should be accessible during normal business hours and be able to be reached. But for the most part, I think my team is doing what they need to do when they want to do it. And I think hopefully they're a little bit happier, if not stir crazy on top of that. But we're cranking, man. Like
that's the
there's proof in the
thing about people that
deliverables.
create like that, man. I mean, I know, my wife has gotten on to me sometimes because it's like I don't stop working because you have to create. When you do create it, it's normal. You have times that you have to create. So whatever times that is during the day or early morning, afternoons, whatever. But then you have to edit that stuff. So, like you said, I mean, my best time of editing is either really early in the morning or really late at night, because during the day I just get sidetracked with stuff. So I can't stay
Mhm.
focused on something. I mean, I can if I had to and I said, "Hey, don't come in here. I have about 3 or 4 hours. I have to knock this out." I mean, I've done that before. But my best
Mhm.
editing is when everybody goes to bed. I put on a pot of coffee at 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, and I go through a pot of coffee and I'm just sitting here, because when I get into, and you know how this is, when
You
you're
get
editing,
into
you can
the
get into a
zone,
flow
man.
and you're pumping it out and you can really do something. You can really get it done fast, and
Mhm.
then, but you can get super creative with it because you have time to think about it and you're not
There's no
rushed to get it done.
distractions.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. I don't know. And my most creative time is because I write a lot. So is at night when I go to sleep. As soon as I'm falling asleep is when I think of everything. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I need to get up and write this, or I need to, I got a voice record, I got to do something. And then I fall asleep and I wake up the next morning. I go, man, I had some really good shit to talk about. And then I forget what it was.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's my best creative time is usually late at night, right as I'm going to bed.
Mhm.
So, um, and I know you said you wrote. You said you like the writing part of it, not to get off the other stuff, but I know you said that you like to be behind the camera, right, and direct and all that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was a passion I had early on because I think the part of the process that is among the most fun for me is just the collaborative aspect. It's being able to work with multiple people and weigh in and have a dialogue about it. I do enjoy just sitting on my own and writing and thinking and getting inspired, and you never know when that inspiration is going to strike. So usually it's odd hours, like you, where
Yeah,
you know
writing's
I
funny,
need to be
man.
doing. something else, and it just shows up, and you're like, I gotta try and capture this somehow.
Yeah,
But it's
running,
great.
that's
I do
running's
enjoy it.
another thing that you get in the zone, and once you get in the zone, you don't want to be messed with because one tiny thing can mess up the whole flow, and you're screwed with whatever you're writing. I mean,
Mhm.
scripts and stuff like that. So I know, and I've been interrupted before where I have a train of thought and I'm like thinking way ahead, of how I want to get there. And then as I'm getting there, it's like somebody comes in and says something, and I'm just like, shit, and then you lose everything. Or I got to walk away from it. And then there's no telling when I'm coming back, you know?
Yeah, it's a fragile state to
Yeah.
be kind of in the zone,
So, hey, have
which is
you,
maybe why it's best super late when you have
yeah. Well,
no
I think
responsibilities.
my wife rather that too. Take do the late night stuff,
Mhm.
sleep a few hours, and then just spend all the time that I can with the family. Which I mean, it works
Yeah.
out sometimes. And I'll be the first to admit I'm not the best at prioritizing time like that because once I get cranking it out, I want to do it. I want to get it done, and I get a thought, I want to knock it out. So she does get on to me sometimes. But we try to prioritize the right way you got to.
Yeah.
So, um,
Yeah, yeah. I'm
have
in the same
you
boat.
have you I know I wanted to ask you this about the OSR because we talked about it last time, and I know it was new. It was fairly new to both of us. And you got the can
This this
you got the battery grip.
this this beautiful girl. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it kind of looks like a baby 1DX, like the
Yeah,
1DX's little cousin.
any of the 5Ds too. I mean, it does. You know.
Um, yeah. This thing has been phenomenal, and I had to grab it. This week I switched out. I was playing with the 24 to 70 L lens, and I created the re 24
Yeah.
to 70 is in low light. So it's a trade-off for sure. But dude, it's a fantastic camera. It's a fantastic platform. I've really enjoyed it. I shot really exciting. I shot my 13-year-old daughter's birthday on this last
Oh, really?
Saturday. So I've got an existential crisis of its own. But I tried to play around with some stuff that I didn't normally do. I like that it's got a bunch of immediate and of course advanced. Like this camera, to sound cheesy, like it has something for you at each stage of your learning and your process. So like, yeah, you've got full auto mode, which I've used that. I've used the different like shutter priority or aperture priority. I'm a guy who if I'm thinking about my own kind of visual style, I love super shallow, super crush depth of field a
Yeah.
lot.
Yep.
So playing with like aperture priority allowed me to, get closer to what I really wanted, like on the fly, because you figure there's, preteens running around, and
Yeah.
I mean, we only had a few people over, but still, things are happening, and you either capture it or you don't. So it
Yeah.
was a lot of fun. I still think from the video end of things, it may not be the be all end all solution, just because again, I'll forever harp on Canon's codecs and just how
Yeah.
they will chew up every bit of those 10 terabytes you have sitting on your desk right
Yeah.
there.
No.
But if you have something like an external recorder, or if that's just your jam, and maybe you're shooting like super, super short form stuff. So if you're doing just like highlight and montage and things like that, and you don't need to roll for a long time, because yeah, there's that, what, like 29 minute, 59
I
second
mean, it cuts off. It
maximum.
does.
So let's
Yep.
talk about that.
Yes.
You need to let me in on that, because I haven't researched that, and I'm very curious.
The cutoff time?
So what's the workaround? You said there might be a
Oh, yeah, yeah,
workaround.
yeah. So I was looking at some stuff because of the podcast, right? And I'm wanting to start. Um, I want to video it, but I'm going to do it in different ways because I want to do, I want to do live Instagram. I want to do this when I have to, but and I'm going to film here. But so in order to turn your camera into a just a webcam, they have a thing that's called CamLink. Have you heard of that?
There's also, so you're now diving into an area that I have recent experience in,
There you go.
which are things like the Magewell being streamers. Yeah, super familiar with that particular workflow, and you are 100% right.
Yeah.
I mean, you can. I've seen pictures or that turned into memes. I mean, it's a guy using a $55,000 red Monstro
Yeah.
VistaVision camera as a webcam for his like Zoom or like any of those products. I guess his Skype business call,
Yeah.
and he's got just a ridiculous amount of money. But it's HDMI out or SDI out, and then it's a basically USB converter where your computer will. I almost did that for this call to
That's what I was gonna do, but I couldn't.
be honest, but I wanted so.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I couldn't order it. I was gonna order it, but I couldn't
So
get
so definitely gotcha. So what I would recommend on that is look into a company called Magewell, Magewell, and I could run and grab that, but I won't. Uh, really, really cool piece of technology, and it's worked fantastically if you want to take really any HDMI signal and pull that into a computer. So like if you're into streaming gaming, you might pull multiple sources into OBS to stream to your Twitch
yeah. Mhm.
channel or YouTube channel or whatever. But you can also use that to make any camera with an HI out into your webcam, which is really awesome. So for one of my first meetings, I happened to have the Blackmagic Pocket Sandy 4K, and I used that, and the shit was crisp. It looked
Yeah.
really, really
I don't
good.
know why in the
So
hell
if
how are
you're
you
using
so
that
clever?
and like, yeah, why are you like? How does everything look good in your
Yeah.
camera? Like, I don't
Just 'cause
know.
you
It's
yeah.
crazy. I had mine like profile. So what was they saw like this. And I was like, oh, hey guys. Oh, I didn't see you over there. So just messing around with it. It's super cool. So if you have an external recorder or if you're using something like this USB capture card as a way to get it into your computer, then yes, I'm pretty sure that way you can uh, circumvent the 30-minute longest exposure time. So that is a
And
possibility, and especially a really really good solution for live streaming.
yeah. And the only other way to really do it that I know of is just get a fake battery. I mean, you can do that, but you have to run it to a power source, which I've done before. I did that with the 5D Mark II back in the day when I used to I would want to film something longer, and I knew it was going to be, I don't know. You'd want to sit it somewhere and let it just film and let it go until the battery runs out. Which sometimes, depending on your battery, it could be less than 30 minutes, but you use a fake battery and then you just run it to a power source and you're good, you know? So I don't know why that's a workaround, but it works. But anyway, but the reason why I wanted to do it was to stream live, you know, but I wanted to do it with a good camera.
Hmm.
So it seems like
Yeah, that's going to be the way to go. And you can find cheaper ones, honestly. Like if you're just probably find a solution for around $100 or below. But they do just for shits and giggles. If you want to have something that's going to, be a part of your kit for a long time, the Magewell 4K capture cards, I want to say, are a couple of bucks. It's not the worst thing ever. Like those devices are pretty super dope, and it powers itself through USB. You don't have extra power cords or anything like that, and it's just boom, camera, HDMI cable, capture card, USB to your computer. You're golden.
that's
Super dope.
I'll probably look into that. It's just just add it to the
Add it to the cart.
man. That's
Add
it.
it to the cart.
Jesus, by the time I get off of here, I'll be spending I don't know, probably about 25 grand.
Yeah. So we've got the iMac Pro, we've got the capture card, we've got like 10 Samsung T5 drives, we've got the G-Tech 20 terabyte drive, we've got you have an EOS R. So if we can talk about if we can commit you to the R5, then
Yeah,
we
but
can
see, so
we can keep
yeah, I
cruising this
mean,
thing.
I use the EOS R, and I mean, if you look at my Instagram, it's like the last I don't know how many, I think 4 or 5 pictures, and then you skip down, and it's like I have a couple more. Those have all been taken with the EOS R. and they're fantastic. So I'm a believer when it comes to the photography, because I can tell you that the normal person is not going to know whether I took a photo with the 5D Mark IV or the EOS R. There's
So
not.
where do you fall in that argument? Because you've got mirrorless and you've got your more standard workhorse DSLR. Where did you land in EOS R versus 5D Mark IV?
Comparing it, or are you asking why, or where would I be in as far as which way you should
Straight
go?
comparison. Do you regret buying the EOS
No,
R
no,
and giving your wife the 5D Mark IV? Do you
no.
think it was honestly and truly an upgrade for you? And do you like the do you like the camera better? Do you like the images better? Like, what's your take? Give me an
Um,
EOS R versus 5D Mark IV.
so as far as if you're going to look at, if you put stacked photos side by side, and I'm not talking about, you're not going to get a magnifying glass and look at every pixel, but if you just take two pictures and look at them, I would take either camera any day. So I'm 110% happy with the EOS R, and that's coming from somebody who takes a shit ton of photos. So I mean, I don't call myself a professional. I have people that do, but I do a lot of photos, and I have absolutely no problem with how it takes it. It's great in low light. Uh, the 5D Mark IV, I mean, it is what it is, man. I mean, it's you're not going to tell the difference in the photos. So as far as that goes, I have either one would work. If you want to go spend less money and like, well, I mean, I don't know, Mark IV is what, $2,500 now, and so you spend a little bit more on the Mark IV. But if it was my opinion, I would tell you to buy the EOS R all day. And then even when it comes to video, I had a guy talk to me today, um, Joe Riggs. He called me and he said, "Hey man," he goes, "My camera has crapped out. Finally, what camera do you suggest I buy?"
What did he have that crapped out?
The 5D Mark II. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. So I was like, yeah, it's time to upgrade a little bit there. So, but yeah, he said, what should I buy? And I said, buy the EOS R. You know how, what's your budget? He wanted to stay under 1,000. I was like, man, you can. I know it's a little bit more, but the EOS R, there's nothing wrong with it. You know. So instead of saying to go buy the Mark IV, I said the EOS R, and I would probably do that all day long. And the big reason is because I think everything's going that way. I think the DSLR is falling off now. Now the 1DX Mark III, I don't know if they'll come out with another one. They may keep that line for pro guys, but
Hmm.
I think the EOS R, or excuse me, the mirrorless cameras, I think are the way of the future. I mean, you could see that with Sony and whoever else has got the mirrorless, but Canon's bringing them out now. They got the R5, they got the R6, and I believe they're launching the R6 before the R5. I believe. Um, so uh, I don't know. I mean, to answer your question, man, they're two different cameras, obviously, and they both have their pros and cons. But if I had to tell I'd tell everybody, whoever asked me, I'd just say buy the EOS R. And I have no problems with me giving my wife the 5D Mark IV. Plus, that's a pretty good camera to learn on.
Oh,
So
hell yeah.
that's not a bad one to learn on. She actually took some
Absolutely.
pictures today that were pretty damn good of the baby. But I don't know. I mean, and like I said, go back to the video. I had Joe. I told him, I said, look, go look at this video that I shot. I shot with both cameras. It was shot with the Mark IV and the EOS R. And you tell me what shot. I know what shots because I know which ones I shot them with. But tell me if you can tell the difference. And he watched. He's like, hell no, I couldn't tell the difference. Like, yeah, so who gives a shit? Nobody knows.
Exactly.
Nobody's going to know unless you break it down and you like put a magnifying glass on it. And to be honest with you, that's what people are doing nowadays. They expect so much stuff in that next camera. They want to wait, and then they pick it apart for all the cons, but they
Yeah.
don't really look at all the pros that goes along with the camera. And really, what are you going to use the camera for? I use it. I think I use it for both, obviously, but I want to get to where I'm using that camera for photography. I mean, you can use it for video for like a quick, if you got to pull it out and shoot something, that's fine. I want to get more into the cinema side, the cinema camera. I want something that can shoot for a long time, and I don't have to worry about it if I need to, because I do have a couple of documentaries that I have that I'm trying to work on that I want to shoot with something like the um, I don't know,
More purpose built for video.
the C300, the C. I know you said you guys use
Yep.
this, the
Love
C300.
it. C300 Mark One, just
Yeah,
1080p, man. Thing's a
that's it.
stallion. It's a
Yeah.
thoroughbred.
So, I even looked at those. I think it's the Mark II. I think is about $6,500. I think. Am I right on that?
Yeah. Yeah. Mark Two is a bit more pricey. When we bought the Mark One, it was 10 grand. It was
Yeah.
almost 10 grand. This is years ago, but it's a solid thing. They're doing some, I think you told me they were doing some pretty wild stuff with the, maybe it was someone else,
C500.
irrelevant, but the C500. Yeah. They're doing some pretty phenomenal things there as well. So yeah, Canon as a platform, if you want to get into purpose, like purpose built driven video stuff,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna steer you away from Canon, but there are some. I mean, if dollar signs are more the issue, then yeah, investing in something like a Black Magic and then putting some really good glass on there, totally respectable,
Yeah.
hundred
Well, I
percent.
did look at that website you sent me with the discounted the sales with the red and all that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it actually got some pretty good stuff on there, but I'm still
Hmm.
skeptical about that. I would hate to know that I spent, even if it's $6,000 to $8,000 on a red camera that's got what you need on there, then you get it in 6 months, it's like dead. Something happened to it. I
Yeah.
mean, I know they probably go through everything and check it and all that. I'm sure they do that, but that's what scares me about that. But I mean, you know, I guess it'd be worth a shot. I just don't have that kind of money just to go, oh, I'll see if it works or not.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, you want to have the confidence that it's the right thing and it's the right, everything. It's totally reliable, all that good stuff. And I've been to, I got lucky enough that we visited Red, their corporate location in, I want to say it's Irvine. Everything's hand built there. Everything, dude, it was so cool. Super phenomenal facility.
Yeah,
Next
I
time
was
you come to
hoping I
Cali,
could
I'm gonna take you to
get
Red.
points. Yeah, well, we'll see.
Super cool.
We'll see when that happens, but I don't know. I mean, red is. I mean, honestly, it's one of those things that if I was to tell my wife about it, she'd say, "Look, if red is what you want, work towards the red. Don't. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with the Canon. I mean, I've seen people shoot with it, and it turns out, phenomenal footage. But
Mhm.
for some, it's just red. I want a red camera. That's my ultimate goal is to have my
Because
own red camera.
they're dope.
I know, and I know
Yeah,
you are. But but
they're
so the thing
phenomenal.
is with the red too, though, you don't have to buy the top end red camera to have good performance. You don't. I mean,
Exactly.
um,
There are people like red purists who are just really like who have been into that platform since day one. They've got cameras that are more than a decade old, or more, and they refuse to give them up. They will not upgrade them. They will not move beyond them. They absolutely love it. The sensors are phenomenal. I mean, obviously the tech and everything about it. If you're into that, dude, you're into that. And there's definitely, I mean, you have the Ari Alexa camp and the Red camp, and just like Canon and Sony and anything else. But um, if you find your thing and you love it, dude, work toward it and
yeah, and
get
that's
after it. I
probably
mean,
what I'm going to do. It's hard because I just got an email the other day because they've been out of stock on the C500, and I got an email the other day that said, "Hey, congratulations, your Canon C500 Mark II is in stock now." I was like, "Shit."
oh no,
Yeah, no,
put it in the cart. Put it in the cart.
that's a that's a tough one to go into the cart right there, my man. That's
Oh yeah, dude.
$17,000 right there, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
You can get a red cheaper than that. The brand new DSMC2 line. You can get a Komodo 6K running on CFast, running off of what is it? Canon, the same batteries that go into like the BP 900
16.
batteries, the same batteries that go. into the C300. Like it
Oh,
runs off of two of those. It's got CFast and it does 6K and it's all red and it's glorious. So it's fantastic. Like that
scares me
is
at the price of
the
the
new entry
CFast
level.
cards, dude. I mean, those things are expensive, you know? I
Hmm.
mean, they're like
Oh yeah,
real expensive.
yeah.
I mean,
When we had to
are
when
they
we got the
reliable?
1DX, we had to get a CFast card. Yeah, they are. Like we use Angel Bird. Yeah, I
Mhm.
want to say it's an Angel Bird card, and we've got like a 128 gig one for the 1DX for like this crazy high frame rate, and if you want to shoot, video on it. And yeah, they're pricey as shit, man. When we initially had to get it, I was like, oh, it's CF card. It's not, like, no, there's actually a difference between CF and CFast. And I was like,
Yeah,
shit. But
big
we've
difference.
had no issues. Things been rock solid. It's not been bad at
So,
all.
so what is I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Somebody just texted me. Or so CFast cards, I think we were talking about. But oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. So like if I go out and shoot, for a weekend, how fast do you eat those cards? Now I know you dump the cards, but how fast do those cards get ate up?
It,
During the
it
day.
just depends. It depends on what you're shooting, like what you're loading onto the card. Like, are you shooting thousands of raw photos at pretty much no compression and like all fantastic highest end resolution that you can? Yeah, I mean, you can do the math on how fast that's going to eat it up. Are you doing 4K video or higher to it? Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna get eaten up. So I think that question, honestly, as much as I would love to answer that directly, is really dependent on exactly like how you shoot, what you shoot,
Yeah.
and how quickly that will load up the card. But we've had like the 1DX is cool too because we've got I want to say there's a C fast slot and also a CF slot. So we're able to use the more affordable CF on there. Obviously, it won't shoot whatever the 800 frames a second that
Yeah, I know.
it's ridiculous shutter.
I
It's
know. It's crazy.
machine gun shutter
Yeah.
to that, but that only is helpful in those specific situations. So again, it's a workflow thing because it depends on what exactly are you shooting, what do you need to have at your disposal. Because yeah, if you're just investing in a bunch of CF cards and you want to be able to utilize a super high, shutter frame rate, then yeah, that's going to suck when you want it and you don't have it. But it also sucks to spend even more money on a ton of expensive storage when how often are you filming or are you shooting photography for sports all the time and you need to rattle off all that crazy 20
See, I
frames per
don't.
second
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
See, I don't
Just
shoot.
depends.
Yeah, my photography is more. You know, I do the cityscapes and shit like that. I don't do
Mhm.
sports. I don't do families. I don't do all that stuff, man. I do what I want to do things. I got wall hangers, that I'm putting in
Yeah.
the office and stuff. That's what I do. So mine is more long exposure is what I do.
Yep.
So I don't have to worry about how fast my damn camera can shoot. That's another thing that deters me from the 1DX line is I just, except for the fact that how it shoots now, and we talked about this before too, but the R5 it's going to rival that, and it's going to be $2,500 cheaper. You know, so
Hmm.
why would I want to go spend $6,000 or whatever? I think what is it, $6,500 or whatever it is for a 1DX Mark III when you could get a EOS R5 for, I think it's probably going to
They're
come in.
saying what, 3,500, something
Yeah,
around that
yeah.
neighborhood. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, and I know you talked about the glass. I was talking about that today too. Is the
Gotta enjoy my second love here on your show.
how about that? That's the good stuff too. I haven't had
It
one of those
is.
in a long
Bought a
time.
case on Amazon during quarantine.
How much you buy that
So good. I don't care. Doesn't matter.
for?
I
You
need it
just
in my
push
life,
push the
in my
buy.
body. Yep.
Yeah.
Add to cart. Done.
All right.
Put it in there with the C500 and the red and everything else that's in
Yeah.
the cart. Done. Added to the
I'm
cart.
running out of my free samples that I had in the so that they send to us. I try to take it
Yeah, yeah,
slow
yeah.
with those. I purchased from the convenience store down down the road to help the cause, and then
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
have to I stop in and get the free samples. So, um, but yeah, the RF glass. I mean, that's what's tempting to me
Hmm.
on the for the EOSR, for the mirrorless cameras. I mean, it just seems like if they're going that way, and I don't know. I shoot with a guy that he works for us. He comes down here every now and then, or when I go to Atlanta, we shoot together. And he actually he bought a EOSR about, I don't know, a month ago, but he bought it with the came with an RF lens, and I don't know which one it was. 24 was it 20? Might have been the 24 to 70.
I want to say there's a kit RF lenses where they really shine are their primes. All the really fantastic videos I've seen, like the 50 is amazing. The 85 is gorgeous. Like the
I don't even
glass on
do it
those, that would
anyway.
be a cool investment, but you can't go back and swap like, and maybe this is just my own kind of personal philosophy on versatility. Like it's definitely it's for that camera. And as you can see, like I don't have RF glass on here. I've
Yeah,
got the little, whatever it is, $100 or
yep,
$150
that's what I got.
adapter so I can
Yeah,
put, our L lenses on this guy. Just because I want that versatility. So like in your case, if you buy RF lenses, like that's going on your EOSR and that's it. Like you can't use those on the 5B Mark IV if you want to. So it all depends on what you want to do with it, honestly.
yeah, I have. I'm looking now. I think I got one, two. I have the 70 to 200 L, 16 to
Oof, that's
35.
a beauty.
Oh, that is the best lens, hands down.
That's money.
I don't give. I mean,
Yeah,
for everything, for anything, that is like the lens. That's
butter.
And when I shoot photos with that, I mean, I don't know if I've ever had a photo that hasn't come out good. I mean, the bokeh, okay, however you want to pronounce it, the Bokeh is like, it's phenomenal. I love it. It's just the look it has. It's
Yeah.
fantastic. 16 to 35, the IS lens I have, which is money, for anything wide angle. And then I have a Tamron 28 to 75, which is phenomenal. I bought it for $400. I think is what I bought it for about 10 years ago. And then I have probably my second favorite lens, the 100 millimeter macro
Mm.
LIS. And it is, I mean, it's $900, that lens. And I love shooting with that thing. That thing is money. And then of course I have the incredible 50 mil, the $99 50 mil, which you need.
It's like what a F 1.8 or something like
1.8.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
dude,
you got to
phenomenal.
have it. You got to have that. I mean, and it shoot now the autofocus on it sucks as far as speed goes. It locks on. Once it locks on, you're good. But you don't want to shoot if you shoot autofocus on video, you don't want to use a 50 mil that 50 mil for sure. Um, which I don't know why anybody would use that one anyway. But as far as photography goes, that thing is good too. So I mean that's all I got. But I cover a wide range. But
You cover everything.
the 72
Unless you unless you need to reach out way farther than that. Like I think I had mentioned last time we talked, we have a 100 to 400, which is great, but we don't use it terribly often. Nice
I
to
don't.
have.
Yeah. Look, I shot so
Purpose
my
built
wife
in.
shot today. And she shot with the 7200 in the house, and we shot on 70 millimeter, but it's just because of how that lens performs, you know. And I shot with it a little bit today, and it's just, I mean, the pictures that she took are phenomenal. I mean, they just look. I don't know. I don't know what's so different about that lens than the other ones, but it's money. It's definitely worth. And I think I spent $1,400 on that lens, and I bought that. That was the I think that was a first or second lens, not counting the 50 mil. I don't count that because it was only 99 bucks. But I think that was one of my first major purchases was that L because I rented it first when I lived in Charlotte. I rented it first and I fell in love with it. So I bought that and spent like $1,400 on my credit card, maxed it out.
Good investment though.
I
It's
said,
paid
you know what?
off.
I'm going to pay that off one day. So
Yeah.
I had to work towards that. Um, but so yeah, I mean, I don't know. But yeah, the work, going back to the workflow, workflow thing with the computer, man, I don't know. I think I made up my mind what I'm going to get, because of this conversation. So I don't know if that's
Happy
good
to
or
help.
I don't know if that's good or bad, to be honest with you.
Uh just depends on how you feel about your shopping cart on any given day.
I just,
The things we tell
sometimes,
ourselves.
sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and I'll get a cup of coffee, come in here, and I just hit send, and I don't think about it. That's the only way to buy it, because if I sit here and look at it, even my wife tells me, she goes, "Why don't you just buy it?" And I'm like, "Because I don't want to spend the money right now. I don't know. I'm trying to justify why I need it." It's kind of like the stabilizers that I have. I bought the
Did you ever
Ronin.
get that case, by the way?
I did
I sent
not,
you that
but you know what? I got to look back. You sent it to me. I can't
one.
remember if I still have it. I think anyway. I need to get that case because I did look at it and I was like, shit. And that's not that expensive. A couple $100,
Yeah.
$250,
Yeah,
I
it's
think.
not bad.
So that probably needs to be my first investment, but I'm not going to do that until we come off of this COVID-19 thing that we're in right now. So once we get out of that, then I'll buy, if I continue to film where I got to take that. But then I pack my Ronin S that I have, and you know, so it's kind of it's like, what do you use? Try to take the Ronin. I love the Ronin M. It's just a little bulky, but I love that thing. But then I shot the last video I did. I shot almost the entire thing handheld. I think I did shoot the whole thing handheld. My part. I shot almost everything handheld.
Have you used the image stabilization in the EOS R for video? It crops in, but it's
I didn't think you
pretty
could
stout.
use that unless you were shooting. I thought you lost something when you shot that.
It crops. It for sure
That's the
crops the
only thing that
sensor pretty bad. There's two different settings. There's like a kind of standard image stabilization, and then there's like an enhanced, and it crops way in. So you definitely want to throw a fairly wide lens on it there. But I did notice just in some testing and messing around with it, running around with the birthday shenanigans, the 24 to 1, like if I'm backed all the way out on this 24 to 105, kind of felt like I was shooting with a 50 with some of that enhanced image stabilization, but it was smooth, super
Really?
smooth.
But
You just
so
got to
it's
do
worth it. It's worth to do that. You just got to make sure you have a really wide lens, depending on what you want to shoot at.
it. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, for most purposes, like if especially if you're in a pinch and you're like, I really wish I had my gimbal, or I wish I didn't drink so many energy drinks that I'm twitchy. Like, boom, you're golden.
Yeah.
Throw the image stabilization on, and you can get the shot, man. At the end of the day, that's the best part. It's one of the things I really, really enjoy about being creative or just creating content. At the end of the day, I don't give a shit how you got the shot, as long as you got the shot. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, and
What
see,
you see at the end of the
I
day is
kind of don't. I don't mind shooting handheld because I like a little bit of movement in it.
hmm
I don't. There's a lot of things that I shoot that I'd rather have a little bit of movement. I think it just
hmm
looks more realistic.
for
Now there's
sure.
some things you want to, I mean, if you're like running behind somebody or you're following somebody walking and you want it to be smooth, that's fine.
Yeah,
But I just think that,
it's a
um,
style choice.
yeah,
It's completely an artistic choice. What you want it to feel like. Do you want it to feel like it's handheld and more gritty and kind of more
yeah,
real and raw, or do you want like that smooth feel of a gimbal, or mimicking a gimbal essentially with image stabilization? You can
yeah,
do either
and you
or. It's
can
just what
always,
story are you trying to tell?
yeah, and you can always shoot handheld if
Mhm.
you do it sturdy enough, and it depending on what you're shooting handheld, but you can always stabilize that a little bit in post. Um,
You can.
you can't go crazy with
It's
it.
risky.
And then, yeah, I mean, you can't be like all over the place
Yeah.
and then think you're going to straighten it up. But if you have a little bit of, some bumps in there and you want to fix it, you can do that.
You can
Just-
massage it,
yeah.
definitely. That's
But
that's the worst thing anyone can ever say, right? We'll fix it in post. It's the most dangerous,
yeah.
cursed comment of all time. That's fine. We'll fix it in
Oh
post.
yeah, you should never rely on post. You should always try to get it
Yeah,
right in camera,
but you can massage.
then work on the post. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's how I shoot photography. Over the years I've gotten better at it. I get it so close to where I want it in camera, so I just don't have to work on it much in post. I mean, that's really what you want to do. That the post is not for fixing your fuck ups. What it's for is for putting more creativity in the finished product. It's for the, it's for the coloring, it's for the edits, it's
It's
for the,
enhancing and
yeah,
polishing and supporting what you already captured.
yeah. I mean, you're still telling a story with how you color grade something, you know.
Yep, definitely.
And that's what it's there for. It's not to go Johnny Johnny drank 16 margaritas before he started filming, so he's kind of all over the
Yeah.
place right now, you know.
Yeah. I mean, and there are examples though of where you would shoot something purposefully because you know you're gonna do a lot in post, like shooting day for night. There's something where yeah, you're completely relying on
Yeah.
post processing for that. And that's a big piece of it. So there are very specific circumstances where it makes sense where you would want to rely on post, but definitely hopefully not that, oh, I mean, that shot was good except for this chunk here. We'll fix it or whatever.
Yeah,
No,
well,
just
for
reshoot.
one, yeah, because you shoot all that footage, you got to go through all that footage, and the worst you can lose all creativity and the way you're thinking is if you start looking at all these videos and short shots that you've done and none of them turn out good. You're like, fuck, how am I going to put this thing together? Because normally when
Exactly.
you shoot thinking about how you're going to edit. I do. I mean, I want to. If I'm shooting this, I have a reason why I'm shooting it this way. You know,
Mhm.
so and I know where I want to put it. I'm trying to put everything together, depending if it's a transition or whatever. I want to shoot everything so that I know when I look at it, I know where to place it and why I shot it that way. Instead of just randomly shooting a bunch of shit and going, now what am I going to do with it? You know,
Exactly.
because I have to do everything. I don't have an editor, you know. I don't have the whole team to do that. So I have to
I
sit
do
down.
shit. I do shit on my own too.
I know, I
I'm lucky that I'm surrounded by creatives, but I produce a lot of shit on my own. Thank you
Well,
very much.
you said you
Yeah.
like to edit. You said you
Yeah,
like
I love post,
yeah,
man. That's where I really fell in love with with the creative process was in
yeah,
post. That was a huge, like I spent most of my time in film school and beyond really embracing and trying to understand the ins and outs of post. And then I've enjoyed so many different aspects of the process, but post is really like, that's the thing that made me go, it'd be really cool to do this for a
yeah.
living for sure.
Yeah,
So
see, I used to love the filming part, and I still do. Don't get me wrong, but the more I've gotten into the post processing and learning more about it, I've kind of fallen way in love with doing the post and getting to that final edit, and learning how to go, okay, I can't use this. I can't use this. I can't, because that's for somebody who's editing and just getting into editing, they want to use everything, and you can't. You have to use what makes sense and tells a story. So there might be this awesome shot, but it's like it just doesn't fit. You can't use it. So you have to get to the point where you can do that, but learning that process and then going through the coloring, and all that stuff, and then getting to that final process or the final edit to where you could put final and then export it.
and then
To me, that
and
is
then final
just
V2, final,
yeah,
final,
final third.
final
Yeah, I have them.
V4,
I have them
final,
lined
final,
up.
final, final.
I have them lined up like a mile long. Final edit. Final
Yeah.
edit. Final edit two.
Yeah.
Final edit three. Fuck.
Yeah,
I was looking at one
exactly.
today. I had to send Joe, and he was like, "Can you send me that video?" I was like, "I have 6 of them. I don't know which. Hold on a second. Which one?" So they all say
and then and
final.
then you sort by date modified and you're like,
Yeah.
that's the most
Yeah.
recent one. That's probably it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
try to stay
I've been
organized,
there.
but every now and then I'm like, I might keep that one. I might use it later for something that I can just put out there. But
Exactly.
yeah, that's I don't know. I'm really I've gotten more into the post processing. I've kind of fallen in love with that. So I never thought I would because I always thought it was kind of a pain in the ass. It's like shit. Now I got to get all this stuff together and got to go through everything. But um, I would really love to be able to just have somebody shoot and then go, here, edit this. And then we've talked about everything and figured out how we want to get to there. But and that's the problem with, the script that I have now that is waiting to be shot, a movie. I'm in there as the writer, but so you have director, producers. I mean, you know how it is. You got people lined up a mile long, DPs, all this stuff. And it's like, hold on now. I got to have some creative say in this. And they're like, well, you're the writer. I'm like, yeah, but I'm the one, I have the vision, and you got to remember, well, these guys have a vision too. But so, I mean, and that's kind of where I collide with the people that are wanting to shoot, this movie is this like, I want to be in the middle of it. I want to put my creative touch on it too. But,
Mm,
so, but I've gotten that way because of what I do. I've done past for the company. So it's a good thing, but it also could be bad. But,
definitely.
anyway, so, something
We've
new.
been partying. We've been partying for a while, man.
Hour and 20 minutes, man. Hour and 20 minutes.
Time flies.
That doesn't count the I don't know what 10, 15 minutes before we started recording.
Yeah.
So yeah, hold on. So we're gonna do a rapid fire, man.
Oh yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Got some
Let's
good
do it.
questions too.
Okay.
I actually had to I changed a couple, but it's just because I want to keep it to 10. So everybody's going to get a rapid fire. It's only going to be 10 questions. So
The Manchester Minute.
yeah, that's what I was thinking about last night. That's exactly what I was thinking about naming it. So that's a good call. All right, man. So you got your drink of rehab. You ready?
I do. I'm ready.
All right, here we go. All right. If the toilet paper roll is really low, but not completely out, do you replace it or leave it? Or leave it for someone else?
I'll replace it.
If you could have a super strength, what would it be?
Like a superpower or a super strength?
Superpower.
Superpower, I would be telekinetic. I would move stuff with my mind.
Is double dipping at a party ever acceptable?
Hell yeah, my parties. As long as no one sees you.
Liquor or wine?
Liquor.
What does the acronym SCUBA stand for?
Self-contained underwater breathing apparatus.
Nice. I figured you'd know that.
I don't scuba either. I just know random
I think
shit.
everybody knows that.
I've never been scuba. I would like to.
Would you eat a day old taquito from 7-Eleven?
How many times have I?
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. How many
For
times?
sure. Too many to admit to freely.
I know.
Yeah, definitely would.
How would you rate your karaoke skills on a scale of 1 to Mariah Carey? I know how I would.
I'm not bad, man. I'm not
I'm
gonna
gonna go
lie.
Mariah
Without
Carey
sounding
with that.
arrogant,
I've seen it firsthand.
I wouldn't go full Mariah Carey. I do with enough liquor. I cut it loose, man, and I have a lot of fun. I'll sing until my voice starts to crack, and I have to like bow out.
Yeah, it was pretty good in Florida when I saw you do it. So.
Oh, that's right. Shit, we were in.
I actually have that on video. So.
Oh my God, you're right. What was that? Ybor City.
Yeah, I watched it.
Ybor City.
Yeah, I watched.
That was a blast.
It might have been a month ago. I saw it. So
I have a very low threshold for karaoke. Even after one drink, like I'm pretty much down. Let's do it.
If there's a spider in your house, do you kill it or set it free?
Kill every time, 100% of the time. Murder.
I would
murder with fire.
Yes. If you were a gangster, what would your street name be?
Oh man, something like I'd be if I were a gangster, people wouldn't take me seriously, so it'd be like Lil Pudge or some shit like that, like a totally non-threatening gang name, but maybe secretly I'm kind of a badass. But yeah, like Lil Pudge, we'll go with that. Yeah, that was a good question.
All right, last one since you came out to Charlotte, East Coast, West Coast.
Shit, man. I got a lot of like last year, without hesitation, I'd be like, ah, man, West Coast for sure. Like I grew up out here. I got a lot of love for the East Coast as of late, man, and
Yeah.
getting to travel like down to Florida to Charlotte. I need to hit. I've never been to like the Northeast,
Yeah.
so I want to like visit
Mhm.
Maine and New York and all that shit, and New
Never
England
been to New
area.
York?
But mm-mm,
Really?
nah, man,
Yeah, I've been to
want to
New
go.
New York.
Bucket list. Obviously not at the moment, but eventually.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean, the only reason I've been to New York is because of the company, but I've been there quite a few times. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
um,
Still
yeah,
badass.
but I've never
So
been.
I would say 51% West Coast, 49% East Coast. Just a little edge because I was born out here,
Yeah,
barely.
I
But
thought
East
it'd be
Coast
interesting that you since you've come out here, a few
a few
times. So
times. Yeah.
yeah, um, it's just more densely populated over here as a whole. You
It
know.
depends, man. In Southern California, it's dense as shit.
Yeah.
Like it
Well,
I
I'm just talking about
feel at
like
home when I'm
or
in different areas.
east of the Mississippi. I mean, it's just it's packed in. You know, once you get west of the
Yeah.
Mississippi, it really spreads out, and there's like, yeah. When you get to California, I mean, they've got some pretty big places, but um, I don't know. I can't find a reason why I want to go to the West Coast. I want to go to like Oregon or like Seattle, something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
there's nothing over there that intrigues me at all, except San Diego. I do want to go
San
to San
Diego's
Diego. What scares me is I want to live there, and it's expensive from what I hear.
yeah.
So I don't want to try that, but I do want to go. I just hear it's like one of the most beautiful places on the planet.
It's gorgeous, man. And then like you're screwed because if you have some time, like you're what, half an hour or less than an hour to Tijuana?
Yeah,
Like you're right there. You can just hop across the border and party in Mexico. Yeah, it's a dangerous place for
yeah.
sure.
I want to go there. I want to go visit and see what it's like. We'll make it out there at some point.
It's
But
gorgeous.
I have one of my cousins, Nicole, lives in close to Beverly Hills. So
Nice.
she's
Next time you're in California, I'm taking you to Red in Irvine and I'm taking you to San Diego. Done.
what is that? What is red? What is that? Oh,
Red
Red Cent. Red,
camera.
I'm thinking. I'm going. What?
Yeah.
No, what city is that? I've never heard of that. Yeah.
Take you
Sorry,
to,
I was.
yeah, not like Redding that's like in the middle of nowhere. No,
Hey,
to Red's headquarters and then to San Diego.
I was hoping we were going to make it to LA this year, but apparently that's out. So
Yeah.
you know,
Next year we'll
uh,
be there. This year's gonna be a wild ride for sure.
yeah,
We'll
we got
see.
a lot to work on this year. So
Yeah.
you think events will get back to normal before the end of the year?
Uh, well, I mean, some things already are, right? So like there's non-spectator stuff. I don't know if you watched UFC this past weekend.
I
It
did
was
not.
weird because
Yeah.
as a fan, so like they fought in an empty arena. You've got just a couple people and you've got their coaches and their team,
Yeah.
and then there's nobody. So it was really weird as the fight's going on, like you can hear everything very clearly. You can hear all the commands the corners are throwing out.
Wow.
You can hear the guys talking shit to one another. It's really kind of crazy for it
Yeah.
to be so kind of dead, or like just if you're into audio, like it was pretty crazy.
You could probably hear
So that
like
was kind of
every
cool.
damn hit too. I mean,
Yeah.
especially if
Oh,
you're
for
like
sure.
down there, you know.
Yeah,
I mean, that
definitely.
would be to me that would be probably the most amazing thing to hear them getting pounded on, you
Hmm.
know,
Just wet
constantly.
meat slaps.
God. I mean, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know how they do it anyway, but oh, by
Yeah,
the
for
way,
sure.
I don't know if you've seen it. A documentary. There's two of them actually. One on Ronda Rousey. So
Okay.
we did sponsor her. Um, you need to check that out, and then our other boy, they have one about him. Um, what's it called? Matter of fact, I don't even think it has a
Hmm.
name. But anyway, um, check them out. They're good. They're very good. So if you're into documentaries. I didn't lose you all of a sudden, did I? You still there?
Hell yeah,
Okay, there you
definitely.
are. Yeah,
You're still handsome.
you have you were pausing. You were like stuck in a weird look. So, but it's all good. It's that
I
California
think
weather, man.
next time we do this, I'll just at random points just make strange like
Yeah.
faces, and hopefully it gets stuck on one.
Well, it'll be like I said. It could be a once a month thing, man. We'll dive into some shit, and I
I
mean,
love these talks, man. I have a lot of
you know
fun.
there's going to be more stuff coming, and
Yep.
it's just is a non-ending conversation. Um, there's always things that people want to know. So,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
today was a little bit more in depth. I mean, especially when you talk about the workflow and stuff, which is really the most important thing to me. So, I mean, cameras are important, but they don't do anything if you don't have anything to work on. So,
Fair.
but yeah, man, I appreciate it. Good hour and a half, you know, some good material.
Got it in. About ready for it's about time I need a fill up here.
Yeah, well, you're looking at a young night right now. So
Oh yeah. The night's
looking
just
at
begin. It's what, 6:30 here? Whew.
looking
Yeah,
at
we got time.
9:30 my time. So
Oh yeah.
getting ready to getting ready to turn the little one in, and then probably watch a movie with the wife. So
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know which one to watch, but I can tell you, don't watch Arkansas. Watch that the other night. It was not worth the money. So
Really.
don't waste your money. Yeah,
We've been binging TV shows lately. We've been
that's what
watching a
we're
lot of
doing.
Vikings.
Yeah,
Vikings is phenomenal. That's a
yeah.
fun show.
I don't know what the hell we're watching. My wife has the shows that she watches, and I sit down, and next thing I know, I've gone through like 8 episodes, but
You should get
uh,
sucked in
it's not
before you
like
even know it.
it's not anything action. It's just I don't know. I just watch them. So
Yeah.
and they're good. It's just it's not
You're
really
just
my
there.
type, but I watch it. They're pretty good. So it's
Yeah.
funny. She watches comedies, is what it is. So But anyway,
Dude, I got
uh,
sucked into a cooking show just walking through the room,
yeah.
and it was The Final Table on Netflix, and they go through different
Okay.
countries and they have to cook a specific dish. If you're like super into cooking shows, that was super fun. And then what's the one that Favreau does? It's like the chef show, I think, where his buddy's a chef and they go around. That was actually pretty cool too. If
Yeah,
you're
we
into it.
watch quite a few of those, but we watch a lot of documentaries on food and things like that. So I'm pretty interested in it. My wife cooks a lot. She's a very good cook. So but we watch a lot of that about restaurants and shit like that because I mean, you don't know where you're going to end up, especially working here. I mean,
Mhm.
so if you see restaurants that are in certain states that you're going to go, you might want to go check them out. So I try to stay up on some of that stuff.
Hell yeah.
But anyway, let's not go down that rabbit hole. So
We'll
that's
save that for next time.
that's another hour and a half. So maybe
Yeah, yeah.
we'll just do I don't know. We'll figure it out between we got about another few weeks, so we'll figure it out. But give
Golden.
the wife my best, and I don't know. I'm assuming we'll probably see each other on a different conference call at some time. So I'm
It's
sure.
gonna happen.
But I appreciate it, and it was fun as usual. And we'll figure out another one coming up. So I appreciate the
Sounds
time
good, man.
again.
Thanks for having me back. I assume that we got some reasonable thumbs up or like favorable reviews, hopefully.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I,
the
I,
last one
I
was yeah.
appreciate it.
We got some good. It's got some actually some a lot of hours have been watched. So
Hey,
that's pretty good. That was a good one.
my dad's in there for sure.
Well,
So I'm promoting the show.
hopefully this one will get a little bit more just because I'm gonna start. We have this platform that we can video, so we'll
Hell
try
yeah.
something a little bit more interesting sometimes. So, but anyway,
Now your listeners can tune in to our ugly mugs making jokes and
that's it.
having drinks and having some fun. It's
Talking
it's
about
a
things,
pleasure every
acting
time. I
like we know what
appreciate
we're
it.
talking about. You know,
Sometimes, yeah.
yeah, a little bit. All right. Well, like I said, tell the wife I say hello, and
Will do, brother.
we'll talk soon, man.
All right. Take
All right.
care, man. We'll
Peace. We'll see you.
see ya.
All right. All right. There you go. Paul Admonson. Again, thank you very much for taking the time to come on and discuss some tech. uh, especially workflow. Workflow is super important. You got to have a fast computer. You got to have something that can digest all that stuff, that 4K, 6K, 8K video, and or photography. Either whatever you do, if you do both or if you do one or the other, you want to have something that can take that whatever it is, if it's photos and video, and uh, and process it. So while you're in the editing, you want to be able to move through that stuff quick. And if you're doing video on a slow computer, I mean, it could even be 1080. And if you don't have something that can take that video and process it as you're editing, so when you look back and want to review it, it's gonna be real laggy. You don't want that. That's frustrating. So you have to make sure that your computer is definitely up to date. Um, sometimes you can upgrade them, which makes sense in some cases because it is cheaper than buying a new one. But there's only so much upgrading you can do. So eventually, you are going to have to buy a new computer. Whether that means you got to spend $3,000 $4,000 on a computer, I mean, you may have to. But again, it goes back to what are you doing? You know, are you video? Is your video going to be in 4K, 6K, 8K? I keep saying that, but cameras are going towards that type of video. It's not just 1080 anymore. I mean, 4K is super popular, and you have it in a lot of the cameras now. But there are cameras coming out that are shooting 6K and 8K. And then if you're using red cameras, you have to have a computer that's going to be able to take that footage and if you put it into Premiere Pro, whatever editing software you use, you want to be able to get to that footage quick. Um, you don't want your video lagging whenever you're looking back at it. You want it to be able to process it fast. So, and on top of that, you want to make sure that your hard drives are big enough to handle, all the footage that's coming off of it, because you could eat up, 1 terabyte storage, or hard drive quick. And SSDs, solid state drives, are really the way to go because they're super fast. Um, Now you are going to pay a little bit more money for it, but in the long run, it's actually better because if you go the cheaper route, the $150 regular hard drive, you're going to eat that up. It's not as fast, but you're going to eat it up, and the next thing you know, you're buying another 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte. It doesn't take long to put to to max that out. And once you max it out, now you got to go buy another 2, 3, 4 terabyte drive. And then, before you know it, you have 10, 12, 14 terabytes on your desk. So, and then you're also spending, $600, $700 or more on those drives when you could spend $1,000 on what he was talking about was a GTAC drive. And it's got 20 terabytes and it's super fast. So, and even the small ones, if you want to use a small Samsung T5, I believe it's called, um, you might pay a few $100s for it, but it's super portable and it's fast. It's a solid state drive. You can take it with you. I mean, you can put it in your pocket there and you won't even know it's there. But, something like that makes sense too. So, anyway, you want to make sure that, if you're just getting into this, or if you're into it, but haven't been into it long and you still have questions. I mean, hell, I've been doing it for a long time and I always have trouble deciding what do I want to buy or which way do I want to go. But, discussions like this helps because um, if you are into it and you don't know which way to go with your hard drives or your computer, things like this can help you make a decision, right? So um, make sure you're getting what you need, not what you want necessarily, but what you need for what you do. So make sure you make the right choices. Um, anyway, Paul, again, thank you very much. A lot of good insight, obviously, from somebody who's deep into the business. And I look forward to many more conversations about, whatever it is that we come up with tech, because I know we can go down some rabbit holes. And maybe we just have an open conversation and maybe we take some questions at some point that maybe some people have and we can answer those. So Anyway, thanks again. I appreciate it. Everybody, um, I look forward to the next one, and tune in because we have some really good conversations in the future coming up. So uh, let's. It looks like there's also a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel for this whole COVID thing. So let's hope that we're coming out of it. We can get back to normalcy. Everybody stay safe. Do what you're supposed to do. Um, Look, man, just stay clean. Wash your hands. I shouldn't have to tell you that, but if I do, there's other issues. So, um, like I said, good luck. Stay safe. See you on the next podcast. Peace.